Hey everyone, welcome to Gei&Sen, the YouTube channel where we recap all the main news happening in East Asia. Without further ado, let's jump right into it, and we start with China. The 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China opened its fourth plenary session in Beijing, with Xi Jinping delivering a report on behalf of the Political Bureau. The session focused on draft proposals for the 15th five-year plan, addressing national economic and social development strategies under party leadership. The session reaffirmed the party's focus on high-quality development, technological self-reliance, and long-term stability amid mounting global and domestic challenges. The day after the four-day-long plenum, Xi Jinping and other key Central Committee members gave debriefings. At the heart of the discussions was China's effort to strengthen innovation and reduce dependence on foreign technology, while maintaining growth through structural reforms and opening up under its own strategic terms. A press statement emphasized that China faces major tests, including global economic headwinds, demographic pressures, and uneven domestic growth, and called for a renewed spirit of historical initiative to navigate them. Governance, anti-corruption, and personal management were also key themes, with signs of forthcoming reshuffles and continued emphasis on party discipline and loyalty. The fourth plenum signals continuity rather than sharp change in China's overall trajectory, and continued consolidation of Xi Jinping's leadership and a reaffirmation of the Communist Party's central role in economic planning and governance. While the five-year plan framework sets ambitious goals for innovation, sustainability, and self-reliance, details of implementation remain limited. There were also some personal-related changes. China's PLA Daily accused 9 generals, including the vice chair of the Central Military Commission, He Weidong, of disloyalty and ideological collapse after their expulsion from the Communist Party. The editorial said their actions severely damaged military unity. He was replaced by Jiang Shengming, who was promoted to the number 2 position. The purge underscores ongoing efforts by Xi to tighten control over the People's Liberation Army, amid concerns of corruption and disloyalty. The leadership reshuffle may signal an attempt to restore discipline and stability within the ranks as China faces growing political pressures, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region. Japanese media are closely watching whether the plenary session will provide clues about China's long-term political direction and economic resilience under Xi's leadership. Internationally, Beijing is expected to project confidence in its economic management despite sluggish growth and real estate sector challenges. The plenary's communiqué will be scrutinized for signs of any policy recalibration, including potential measures to revive investor confidence and stimulate household spending in China, both critical to sustaining China's long-term growth. Then we go over to Japan. The Japanese Diet elected Sanae Takaichi as its new prime minister, making her the first female prime minister ever in Japan. She secured 237 votes in the lower house and later won a second round of voting in the upper house. Her ascension comes amid a fragile parliamentary position. The long-standing coalition between the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, in short the LDP in Japanese Jiminto, and the Komeito has collapsed, and the LDP has negotiated a new arrangement with the Japan Innovation Party, in short the GIP or the Nippon Isshin no Kai, to secure support. Japan's new coalition between the LDP and the JIP has embraced a more conservative agenda, agreeing to expand defense spending, implement measures to bring down the cost of living, and advance plans for constitutional revision. The pact also includes plans to abolish corporate donations to politics, cut food tax to zero, and reduce diet seats. The Japan Innovation Party, however, does not plan to send ministers to Takaichi's cabinet for the moment. In her maiden cabinet, Takaichi named several high-profile figures. Notably, Satsuki Katayama becomes Japan's first female finance minister, signaling a symbolic break in gender norms through broader female representation remains rather modest in the cabinet. Other key appointments include former contenders for the title of president of the LDP, Toshimitsu Motegi as Foreign Minister and Shinjiro Koizumi as Defense Minister. In addition, the cabinet includes Kimi Onodo as Minister for Economic Security, another woman in a senior portfolio, albeit one of only 2 female ministers in the lineup. Takaichi has pledged a more assertive Japan First agenda during a press conference. Boosting defense spending, she actually wants to lay the groundwork for raising defense spending beyond 2% of the GDP, tightening immigration and reviving growth through fiscal stimulus and structural reforms. Her cabinet's choices reflect both ideological continuity with the era of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, to whom she's aligned, and tactical balancing of different factions in the LDP. With the government operating in a minority or near minority mode, Takaichi faces the dual challenge of consolidating power internally while pursuing a bold policy shift amidst challenging domestic and international circumstances. One of the first meetings Takaichi as Prime Minister had was with the Japanese organization that advocates the safe return of family members that were kidnapped by North Korea in the 70s and the 80s. She vowed to them to do her utmost best to bring them back. Chinese media paid abundant attention to the election of the new Japanese Prime Minister. Most media report rather factually, with some making remarks about the bumpy road ahead of Sino-Japanese relations, with some speculating that the upcoming period will be the worst state of bilateral relations yet. South Korean media emphasize her hardline stance in the past. They share a story happening in 1994 when newly elected lawmaker Sanae Takaichi confronted the then Prime Minister Tomiichi Murayama in Japan's Diet over his statements acknowledging Japan's wartime responsibility and possibly issuing apologies. The exchanges between them established Takaichi as a prominent conservative critic of post-war apologies, and over the following decades she maintained her hardline stance, regularly visiting the Yasukuni Shrine and aligning with right-wing factions. On the flip side, however, Takaichi did show love for South Korea. She showed her love for South Korean seaweed, beauty products, and K-drama during a recent press conference, which maybe garnered her some respect points from South Korea. Then we go over to South Korea. The Democratic Party of Korea unveiled a sweeping judicial reform proposal that would dramatically expand the number of Supreme Court justices, triggering fierce criticism from the opposition People Power Party over potential threats to judicial independence. Under the bill, the number of Supreme Court justices would increase from 14 to 26. The expansion would be phased over 3 years, adding 4 justices annually starting 1 year after the law takes effect. If enacted, the reform would allow current President Lee Jae-myung to appoint up to 22 new justices during his term, and critics argue that this would give the current administration a disproportionate influence. The Democratic Party of Korea also revealed a separate false and fabricated information eradication bill, which would hold media outlets and online content creators, such as YouTubers, liable for spreading false and malicious information, with damages up to 5 times the harm caused. Opposition lawmakers denounced both proposals as attempts to seize control of the judiciary and to silence critics. Media advocacy groups echoed these concerns, warning that the second piece of legislation could weaken press freedom and democratic oversight. Another story from South Korea. 4 months after South Korea's new government took office, more than 40 of its overseas diplomatic missions remain without ambassadors or consuls general, raising concerns over weakened diplomatic capacity and slow crisis response. The problem was highlighted last month when several Koreans were detained in the US state of Georgia. At the time, both the Consul General in Atlanta and the Ambassador to the United States positions were unfilled, complicating the government's response to the incidents. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a total of 42 embassies and consulates currently lack appointed heads. The vacancies follow a June directive ordering ambassadors appointed under the previous Yoon Suk-yeol administration to return home within 2 weeks, but their successors have yet to be named. More specifically, with regards to the Korean embassy in Cambodia, a state audit was held at the embassy. Lawmakers from the South Korean's National Assembly harshly criticized the embassy's inadequate response to a series of serious incidents involving Korean nationals in Cambodia. The acting ambassador faced tough questioning over the embassy's failure for several things. Lawmakers urged stronger diplomatic accountability and more calibrated travel advisories to protect citizens while minimizing harm to ordinary travelers. The last story is from North Korea. North Korea launched several short-range ballistic missiles from the North Hwanghae province toward the northeast around 8 a.m. on October 22, marking its first missile launch since the inauguration of the Lee Jae-myung administration in South Korea. The missiles reportedly flew about 350 kilometers and fell within North Korea's territory. This provocation, North Korea's fifth launch of 2025, appears to be an armed demonstration ahead of next week's APEC summit in Gyeongju in South Korea, which will be attended by major world leaders including US President Trump and China's President Xi Jinping. Analysts view the timing as a deliberate signal to assert North Korea's nuclear status and influence potential diplomatic discussions. For example, it is still speculated whether US President Donald Trump would have a meeting with North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. It's still not clear at the moment. In response, South Korea's National Security Office convened an emergency meeting and said it would be monitoring for further launches amid speculation that Pyongyang may soon test its newly unveiled Hwasong-20 intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, comment, share with your friends, subscribe. And I hope to see you next week again. Bye!